Hi there, Garrett Ainsworth, CEO and President of District Metals. Today I'm going to be talking about our high-grade polymetallic Tomtebo project located in south-central Sweden. We've got some forward-looking statements that you can follow up on the website or the presentation. I'll just start off with the who's involved with District Metals. Myself, I've spent much of my career in the Athabasca Basin as an exploration geologist, VP exploration for Alpha Minerals, and VP exploration and development with NextGen Energy, exploring, discovering, and winning some awards along the way from 2007 up until 2018. When I came on to District Metals, Joanna Cameron from NextGen joined me, as well as Galen McNamara. Anna Ladd-Kruger joins us from Exelon Resources and Integra. And then Doug Ramshaw is with Minera Alamos and also with Great Bear Resources. So one of the things I learned when I was at Alpha Minerals and at NextGen Energy is that structure is everything. And so when I came on to District Metals, that is exactly what it provided, with very supportive founding shareholders. After we did the deal on the Tomtebo project, we did a small financing and brought on some more good institutional names that you'll see. You know, we've got quite a large institutional and high net worth shareholders, as well as management and insiders hold quite a bit. So we've got 59 million shares issued, 5 million stock options, and 0 warrants. So it's a very clean share structure. So I've looked at Scandinavia and Sweden in particular as a jurisdiction, and I really do like it. It's actually ranked higher than anywhere in Canada at this as of 2019. It's got a history of mining that goes back to 400 BC, so it's very well ingrained in the culture in a large way. And you've got some major mining companies like Boliden, Lundin Mining, Agnico Eagle, South 32. You know, Rio Tinto's been in Sweden, they're in Finland right now. So it definitely is a good jurisdiction to be in for a lot of reasons. And the government's very supportive with, you know, low corporate tax of 22%. And there's a number of metal mines that are in production in Sweden in particular. So we're located in south central Sweden with our Tomtebo project. It's the red star right there. It's within the Bergslagen district. And it's an incredible district in that it's known for very large VMS, SEDEX, and carbonate replacement polymetallic deposits, or in the case of the Garpenberg mine and the Oscarsgruvan mine, those are very large mineralizing systems that are run by Boliden and Lundin Mining respectively. Falun and Sala, those are historic mines that were very significant in the region as well. So one thing that really stood out to myself when I first started looking at this part of the world is that it's highly underexplored compared to other VMS, SEDEX type districts around the world. And you really don't find deposits that are this large in many other VMS type districts. So, and on top of that, we're located about 2.5 hour drive from Stockholm. And you know, that's very good for keeping costs down. And we've got all sorts of road access, rail, deep water ports. Power costs are very low, and very importantly, there's 5 smelters in the Nordic region. So talking about the tonnage of these type deposits, you can see the breakdown there. I mean, Garpenberg has produced 54 million tons. I mean, quite often in VMS districts, you're doing really well if you've got 5 million tons. Now, Boliden, who operates Garpenberg, they call it the world's most productive underground zinc mine. But as you can see, it really is the silver that does it. Out of the 54 million tons produced, 134 grams per ton silver, very high grades, and 4.9% zinc. So there's some very good value to the rock that they've extracted out of Garpenberg. Also with Oscarsgruvan, you can see that when you add up all those numbers, you get a global tonnage that's very significant in terms of these VMS type mineralizing systems. Something that cannot be ignored in the Bergslagen is the precious metal content. So with Garpenberg, we've got about, you know, almost 40% that's attributed from the silver and gold from past production. And I mean, these are metal prices that go back to last year. So obviously things have changed, and Garpenberg is actually more of a silver mine now than it is a zinc mine. And Falun, which is located on the other side of our project, it shut down in the 1990s. It's still open at depth, but they've turned it into a mining museum, so there's no chance at going back there. But it's got very high gold content. Out of the 28 million tons of production, you know, it had 3 grams per ton of gold and 3% copper. So it's the other end member of this type of mineralization in the region. The Tomtebo project, as you can see, it's located right in between the historic Falun mine, 25 kilometers to the northwest, and the Garpenberg mine, which is 25 kilometers to the southeast. Now, it's very important to note that we contain the same geology, structure, alteration, and mineralization styles that you see at both those mines on either side. And then we also have, very importantly, some historic mines on either side of the 17-kilometer strike length that's contained within the Tomtebo project. The one big difference between our project, Tomtebo, and the 2 mines on either side is that the amount of exploration that's occurred at Tomtebo is very minimal in comparison. And so we've never seen modern systematic exploration done at Tomtebo. And that's where we see the value coming in here. It's always good to have an analog when you come into a district, and Garpenberg could not be better. So it's located, as I said, 25 kilometers to the southeast. Boliden has put quite a bit of money into it, and you know, oddly, it almost shut down in the 1990s until a team of geologists came in. They did some structural studies, and they cracked the case on Garpenberg, and they took it from a 20 million ton producer up to, you know, much higher levels based on the tonnages that were shown in a previous slide, and they've done it all very profitably. So last year they mined out 2.9 million tons from Garpenberg, which in some VMS districts, that is a deposit on its own. So, and they're doing it at very low OPEX, $40 US per ton for mining and processing costs. We've got recoveries that are very good for all the metals involved in the system as well. And they're mining it down at the 1,400 meter level with mineral resources open down to the 1,600 meter level. Something that a lot of people don't realize is that Garpenberg actually started off as a historic copper mine, which is exactly how the Tomtebo mine has started out as well. But again, the difference is Tomtebo mine on the Tomtebo project has not been followed up. As you can see on the long section on the right here, there's the starter pit, and then there's a number of blind deposits further off to the southwest. So the plan for us isn't to start drilling 500 meter holes. We've got some very shallow targets at Tomtebo. The shallow is 40 meters to follow up on, and we'll work our way down at depth. But the historic workings at Tomtebo, or the exploration drift, is located on the 200 meter level. And so the window of opportunity from 200 meters down to what you see at Garpenberg, 1,600 meters, is very large. And to put this into perspective, I've side by side put long sections of the Tomtebo workings. And you can see it's open in all directions we have historic drill results that we've reported on that show this. And you could fit the Tomtebo workings, you know, above at least 4 of those deposits at Garpenberg very easily. It really does feel like we're just scratching the surface with Tomtebo. And when you take Garpenberg and conceptually put it in a long section on our Tomtebo project, well, you can see it fits in quite nicely. The distance between the 2 historic mines on the project is 12 kilometers. We contain a total of 17 kilometer strike length, and you could fit 3 to 4 Garpenbergs on our project within these highly prospective felsic volcaniclastic rocks. So a little bit more detail on comparisons with Tomtebo and the surrounding Garpenberg and Falun mines. Again, I mentioned that we have the same rocks. We've got the right structure that shows northeast to southwest striking, regional scale overturned syncline. We've got very intense alteration that's shown up at the historic Tomtebo mine down in the southwest. And most importantly, we have mineralization with lenses and pods of massive sulfides that looks very similar to what you find at Garpenberg and also at Falun. And we've got over 17 kilometers of strike length showing all of this prospective land. So the historic Tomtebo mine in the southwest of the project, it produced, well, we have records that produced 120,000 tons at 4.4% copper. We know there's gold that comes with that, but there's no record of it, and also other metals as well. There's a historic resource of just under 400,000 tons with grades that are, as good, if not better, than what you see at Garpenberg, and they're open in all directions. We've also have some confirmatory dump pile samples that EMX grabbed in 2018 that show very good grades of polymetallic. And one of the key questions that I always get asked is, well, why is this project available and why was it not developed? And so before the 1990s, Stora AB was a state-owned company, and they were a forestry and mining company. And they actually, during their development of the Tomtebo project, they were mandated to switch to only a forestry company. So they shelved the Tomtebo project, and it remained undeveloped until now. And we have really got a hold of it through EMX. Just some mineralization styles. Top left, you've got some massive, semi-massive chalcopyrite that would be running about 4% copper, maybe 6% copper with good gold grades. Down in the lower left, you've got some semi-massive galena sphalerite, which would be very high with silver. And then a combination of both is on the right side. So we've put some releases out on our results at Oscarsgruvan zone, which is part of the Tomtebo mine. And I've got a long section right here, looking to the south, that shows some of the historic results. So hole 65001 right there had just under 5 meters of almost 1,100 grams per ton silver equivalent, or 28% zinc equivalent. And this was drilled out with 170 meter step out with 65002. It's similar width and lower grade, but it shows that the system is still active. We've got a vertical extent of over 200 meters, and it remains open at depth down at hole 70016. So this is a key area for us to follow up on. Just some assays that show the breakdown of the metals from those equivalences that I provided. You can take a closer look later on. We've also reported on historic results from the Steffenburgs zone, which show very wide intervals of mineralization. When you take the high grade from hole 7003 to 7004, you get about a 30-meter width of the mineralization, and it's wide open at depth. Has never been tested or followed up on. So in these intervals were 16 meters of over 500 grams per ton silver equivalent, or 9.8 meters at 440 grams per ton silver equivalent. So these are very significant intervals, and I'm very much looking forward to us following up on it in early 2021. Again, another table showing a breakdown of the metals. The last zone that we focused in on with the news release in August was showing the high-grade copper values. Only copper was analyzed. Again, we know that there's gold associated with this and other metals as well, but from the database that we have, we were only able, they only had the copper values available, but this is really highlighted by hole 16008B. It showed 4 meters of almost 12% copper. And really that is the feeder zone for the system, or at least one of them, and showing high-grade copper over these kind of widths that remains open along strike and at depth is very significant in terms of the overall mineralizing system that has occurred at Tomtebo. Again, a breakdown of just the copper and where you do find that the precious metals were analyzed. For instance, with hole 70015, it was a narrow interval here of 0.66 meters, but we've got decent silver of 189 grams per ton and 4 grams per ton of gold with almost 8% of copper. Now, there's another historic mine on the property at the northeast end. It's called the Lovas. It had some historic production of 330,000 tons at grades that were decent with zinc, lead, and silver. No values were available for the copper or the gold, and it looks like a lot more material was extracted from this mine, but we only have records for that. Mining went down to 190 meters, and the records show that they shut the mine down due to water ingress. So that was an issue back in the 1800s that they couldn't get over, but that's the reason why they shut it down. Again, some of the dump pile samples that EMX took in 2018 show very high grades for polymetallic mineralization, and this has not been followed up. And from the mine plans, it shows that the mineralization is open at depth and along strike. Here are some photos of the mineralization. We've got some coarse grained massive sphalerite in the top left, carbonate replacement on the bottom left, which is very important to this style of mineralization, and then some epidote calcite alteration further on the right with, very importantly, massive to semi-massive galena, and that's what holds the silver, which we find to be, in the samples we took, 300 to 400 grams per ton silver. In terms of our timeline, well, we're pretty much through the historical data compilation. We are actively modeling the Tomtebo mine data with Leapfrog 3D, making models up. We've done the airborne SkyTem survey, which is the first time ever that this type of deep penetrating EM and magnetic survey has ever been done on the property. We'll be getting the final data and then interpreting it, and we should have drill targets by the end of September or the beginning of October. And also we're running a field program right now with one of the local experts who worked for Boliden at the Garpenberg deposit. So that will be a very important piece of information for us to add to the puzzle. And we'll be compiling it all and in a position to permit in November, which is about an 8-week process. It might take a little bit longer than that, but we should be in a position to drill in February or March of 2021. And we're looking at a minimum of about 5,000 meters, but every time I keep looking at the data, we keep adding meterage of holes we should be drilling. So, I mean, we could easily double to 10,000 meters without any issues. Just some of the references, and thanks very much for watching this presentation. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thanks very much.